Hey folks, Dave here. Let's talk Ghostbusters. The new Ghostbusters Afterlife movie, which is a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Go see it right now. But it's, I love the Ghostbusters franchise, and the initial promo stuff that came out with the Ecto-1 kind of driving recklessly through a wheat field kind of always struck me. And that was like 18 months ago, and the movie was delayed due to the pandemic. Stupid pandemic. Pandemic. The movie finally came out in like a month ago now, and I have always wanted to recreate that shot. So actually, a year ago for Christmas, got this gift, which this model kit here of the Ghostbusters Ecto-1A, which sat on a shelf for a year. But watching the movie finally inspired me to make the model. And to be honest, it's kind of a crap model, but it's also based off the Ecto-1A, and the movies for some reason is based off the Ecto-1, which is like the original movie. Ecto-1A is the second movie, but the third movie in the series is based off the first car. I don't pretend to understand that, but I'm going to go with it. So the Ecto-1 actually built as a hybrid. I'm not going to cover the building of it because you've already seen me build models before, so that's nothing new. But I figure what we do is go from here to actually seeing what it would take to actually make that shot in the movie, or at least in the movie promos, a reality. So let's first cover the Ecto-1. So this is the model here. As you can see, I've painted it all up. It looks rough, like you'd expect the Ecto-1 to be after 30 years of sitting in a barn and use as a Ghostbusters machine. And I painted it up. I made a few mistakes when I modeled this thing. Mainly the clear glass was actually clear. But it turns out that the crazy glue accelerant that I use, this stuff here, causes the things to affect the plastic, so it fogged up, and also the clear coat is not actually clear coat, and that caused more fogginess. But I did try to add some realistic details, adding dust to it, and I tried to make it look like the windshield wipers had wiped dust off, but there's still stuff on the windscreen, and just made it look old and rough. That's the model that I have to work with. Now the question is, where am I going to shoot this? I don't have a wheat field. Wheat does not scale anyways, so it's going to be a problem. However, winter has left me with some magic, and I found this really exotic location that I think will work perfectly for this shot, and let's go check that out right now. So this magical location is my backyard. I noticed that this grass down here was starting to look vaguely wheat-like. So I figured, hey, why not just shoot the shot here and save myself a lot of hassle. So I am going to set up the car and set up my camera and do a couple test shots and see how that'll work. All right, we got the car in the foreground. Got the shot lined up to see what this looks like. So I think those test shots are looking actually pretty dang good. So it's just a matter of dialing this in. There are a couple things that I note. First of all is there's shadows everywhere because the sun is directly behind me. So it probably behoove me to take this shot later on in the day, which is fine because it also gives me a chance to set up another issue in that the background is not exactly Ghostbusters universe compliant. So I'm going to do a composite shot of this. I figured I'd always have to do that. Interestingly, even in the movies, if you watch some of the behind the scenes stuff, all of the mountains and the stuff were also composited in. So it's actually movie faithful, which is kind of cool. But I'm going to do a composite shot. So what I want to do is have in the foreground, have the car and the grass all in one shot. And then just beyond the car, I want to comp in another shot where there'll be like funky clouds in the sky. And I think I have the funky clouds in my library. If not, I'll have to take that shot later. But for now, I want to isolate this shot. And so to make my life easier, what I'm going to do is create a barrier just beyond the car. So I can easily erase out all of the bits that are in the foreground, so I can easily replace a background in Photoshop. And there's my dog. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to craft some of that. So I'm going to go do that now. That'll give the sun some time to get up in the sky to stop with these horrible shadows, and we'll go from there. Hey, puppy. Hi, puppy. Puppy. My solution for the background is to use these stretched canvases that you can get from Michael's for like $10 for 3 of these things. They're really cheap. This is like 16 by 20 inches, I believe. I may need 2 because in the background, so the camera kind of widens out. But I can use one of these, and what I like about these is that you can paint them whatever color you want. The canvas is designed to not warp or bend like other, like if you use like paper or something like that to paint, to make a background. You can reuse them, and they're designed by nature to hold their form and function, hold their shape, and they're cheap. So what I'm going to do is just paint these. The question is, what color am I going to paint them? I think what I'm going to do is just make these a classic gray. What I'm trying to do is just make the foreground, and especially around the car, easy to pick out so I can mask it out and replace it with the background. And the car is essentially black and white, so I don't want to leave it white. And I don't want to use black canvas. You can also get these in black, so that would save some trouble. But I don't want to use black because both of those would make it hard to find the selection in there. But if I make it gray, it should be able to make it easy to mask, and also any color spill, bounce color off of this stuff, there won't be any color casting in the shot. So I'm going to paint 2 of these up, and when they're dry, I'll take them out and set them up as backgrounds. So the color I'm using is just this neutral gray color. It's a mixture of pewter and white. I used pewter gray simply because that's what I had on hand. So I'm just going to paint up these canvases and go from there. Okay, so I have these backdrops here, back behind the setup, blocking all of this cruft back here. And this is how they're set up here. So I have the platypod clamps, which are actually open surprisingly large for what they are. I can actually get a bit bigger than that, which is great. On a gooseneck attachment, and then down to a platypod max. I picked the max just because it has more beef and heft, because this thing here has a tendency to want to go this way and put force on it, so that'll just give it a little bit more grip. Then just 2 of those, and I have myself a very sturdy backdrop. So I think I got everything ready to go, so it's just a matter of starting to shoot. I'm winging this, to be honest, see how it works. It's an experiment. It's fun. We've got about maybe another hour before light is gone completely. So let's get going. So I got the shots I need, but I had my drone flying just to get some shots for the video, and I noticed the downdraft might actually be beneficial for making some dust coming off of the Ecto 1, so I'm going to actually give that a try. So if we have the drone flying here, and I drop the dust down here, it should blow this way. Then if I use a remote trigger, I can reach it. I can stand here, and then get all the shots that I think I need. Will this work? I have no idea. I'm just playing around here. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Here we go. already jumped into Photoshop here, and I've grabbed the two candidate photos that I like. The first photo, the base photo for our final image, is this simple image here. I also grabbed one of the scenes with the dust being kicked up. I like this because it's just enough dust to give it a bit of motion, but not too much dust that it overpowers the scenes. I auto-align these layers to adjust for camera shake, and then I used a simple mask just to mask in just the dust from the dusty photo and leave the rest of the original image the same. Then I added some fixes just to get rid of a little bit of noise. And then I noticed that this logo here is obscured. I didn't notice that during the shoot. So I fixed that by removing some of the grass and the logo, and then adding a logo that I downloaded off the internet, and then did some hue adjustments and saturations just so it kind of fits in with the overall theme. And that is the basic foreground image. So I wrapped this all up in a smart object. So that smart object is right here. I did some, I did a camera raw filter just to kind of give it a little bit of extra yellowing, just to pop the car out just a little bit more. I used the new feature of Photoshop 2022 called Sky Replace. So if you go to Edit and then Sky Replacement and go through that dialog, it will automatically figure out where the sky is and allow you to replace it with a different sky. So this is the sky that I chose to use. This was taken up in the mountains near my house about 6 months ago. I really liked the swirling kind of patterns that the clouds made, which is why I grabbed this shot intending to use it for as a library for future shots. And it kind of has that spirits are coming, ominous look. And the sky replacement tool actually gives you a lot of things. First of all, it masks out really nicely the sky in the foreground. So I now have the sky in the background. It does some toning. This is all automatic. And it also gives you a little bit of foreground color toning. So it matches the sky to the foreground all automatically, which is pretty freaking sweet. And I added this levels by myself just to give a little bit of front light just to the front of the car. So you can just see just a slight addition there. And then I added a fix to the sky in the very top corner just to get rid of that extra blue so the clouds go all the way up. And then the rest is just some brightness contrasting. But this hue saturation is one I added to start giving it that green ghostly specter glow. And then another hue saturation layer to bring in some teals and some blues. And then one more brightness contrast layer just to kind of brighten up those blacks so all the blacks kind of match within the scene. And so what I wanted to do now is put in a light ray to kind of act like a sun. So if I click on the light rays thing here, what this is, it's just actually a JPEG from a library from a fellow by the name of Serge Romelli who sells these packs. When you get it, it's just black on white light ray. Looks kind of like that. And so what I do is go to the layer blend mode and drop it down to screen, and that gets rid of the black and then leaves you with just the light. And then I add a hue saturation adjustment layer just to give it a nice yellow. Otherwise it's just white, it looks a little bit off, but to give it that yellow, it's more believable as like a sun. Now I want to add some life to this car. Right now this car is just sitting there, it looks kind of dead. So I want to add some life to the car. So the first thing I do is add some brake lights, and this is simply done with a soft brush, starting with some white and putting a white in the center, and then taking some red and setting the flow and opacity really low, and just building up some light glow. So I have brake lights to set up these lights here, so it looks like the brake lights are on, and then I copy that over to the other set of lights. And then I added in all of the flashing lights for the car. I wanted the base of all these lights that are top of the Ecto 1, and they're typically all blue on the Ecto 1. So I just took a white brush and kind of just brushed them all in. And then I wanted to give them a flare, literally a flare, give them some pop. So I grabbed another texture pack, which looks like this, and it's just a JPEG with a blue flare on it. And then again, and if you set it to screen and make it a bit smaller, you can see that it adds just a hint of a flare on the first light there. And then I just copy that over to all of the lights, and we got ourselves some fairly believable flashing lights on the top of our car, which is fantastic. So we have lots of lights now. Then I wanted to add just a light leak. So just a little bit of light. It's very hard to see. I will, because it's in screen mode, I will send it to normal level. So this is the file that I use, and it's just a little bit of light. And if you send it to screen, it just adds a little kiss of light to the image, kind of like another lens flare. And then I add a couple textures. These textures look like this. At least that texture does. And I just blend it in using the overlay blend layer and drop in the opacity. And same with this texture here, just to give it a little bit of grit and grime, which is kind of my signature style. And then one final adjustment is this window light layer, and it just adds a little bit of extra light to the windows and to the back, and just kind of brightens up those shadows. All that is a light, soft brush on a very low opacity and flow, and just kiss the window with the brush, and it just adds a little bit of texture in there. And then that leaves us to the final image. So thank you very much for following along. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of my process as I go through all this stuff. If you like my stuff, please hit subscribe. If you don't like my stuff, please hit subscribe, and I will see you next time. Take care.